Innovation. Innovation is fantastic. If you hear the Americans talk, you know innovation is it. You have innovation platforms, you have innovation professors, innovation courses. It's the coolest thing if you can talk about innovation. But what is innovation? I mean, innovation is sometimes a buzzword. Everybody is innovative. Is that really true? And the question is, how do you get to innovation? Is that a result or is that the beginning of something? And I think that we should change. I think there's a more important factor, which we all know. And I'm sure all of you had today some of these moments, which we normally think are very negative. Irritation. Irritation is negative. It sounds negative, is perceived negative. But I think that irritation is a big, big driver for this beautiful innovation. So why not turn it around and let's try to look positive at irritation to make innovation out of it. That sounds simple, sounds like two words, but I can give you some example how that can work. First, the processes. We're in healthcare, and I was in a hospital in Chicago a couple of years ago, and you know, in the US, they like to rank everything. You know, top 10, top 20. And this particular hospital was ranked not very high on innovation. So the board said to the organization, to the management, we have to get more innovative. And it should become and done bottom up, from the working floor to the top. I met this head nurse, she was very nervous, and she said, I have 2 weeks to do this. I have to come with ideas for the board, innovative ideas. And we made a bet, the two of us. We said, well, 1 week we do it like you wanted, and the second week we do it like I wanted. And guess who won? I won, otherwise I wouldn't share this with you, of course. So what she did was actually good. She took a whiteboard and put the whiteboard in the meeting room of the nurses. And she wrote on top of the whiteboard, please write down your innovative ideas. And of course, you can guess, after a week, the whiteboard was still as white as snow. I only changed actually 3 things. One is, I took the whiteboard from the meeting room to the coffee corner, because there is where it happens, in the informal part of the organization, never in the formal part, always in the informal part. The next thing I did is, of course, I wiped her sentence off and I wrote down, what annoyed you the last 15 minutes? Very concrete, short term. You come to the coffee corner as a nurse, you had an experience in the last 15 minutes, what annoyed you? And the last thing I did, I wrote already 3 annoyances on the whiteboard myself, which makes the hurdle lower to put something on the board. And of course, the whiteboard was full with irritations after the second week. And then we sat down with the nurses and tried to convert these irritations into innovations. Another example is, every year, I personally organize an irritation session in a healthcare environment. Give an example of last year. I did it in a Dutch nursing home. The board wanted to be innovative. I twisted to irritation, and we organized an irritation session. 10 nurses knew only one thing. They had to come to a specific room at a specific time to have an irritation session. Imagine how they came in that room. They were from 10 different departments, they were nervous, and they had no clue what this was about. We've done this before, and what we always use is a very simple tool called your phone to make a picture, and that's a guarantee. Try it in your own company or in your own environment. If you go into the building, you can take a picture of an irritation, for sure. So here I had the same, and I never prepare these things because I'm convinced there's always irritations ahead. I drove onto the parking lot of this nursing home. There was a lot of buildings, and there were signs, and suddenly there were no signs anymore because it was spring. And spring means that bushes grow. So the next sign was covered by a bush. So I took a picture. Simple irritation. And that's where I started the meeting with. I said, this is what I mean. Oh yeah, we all know that. The bush. I said, yeah. But for me, it was an irritation. How easy could you have solved this irritation? And then the people are relaxed. Then they think, oh, I'm not fired. This is about other irritations. And I can tell you, after 2-3 hours, we have to cut the meeting and say stop. It goes on and on and on. And why is that? Because there's so much irritation in the organization, but it's never on the official agenda of a management team meeting. I've never seen an agenda saying point 3, irritation. But go to the coffee corner, there's a lot of irritation. So it's actually very simple. It's transforming and taking the irritation from the informal to the formal. So that's the process. If we look at products, we can say, yeah, that's nice, all these processes, but what is the outcome of it? Well, the outcome of it is this. This is one of the biggest irritation of millions of people, also known as a compression stocking. For those of you who don't know, a compression stockings put pressure on your leg to help your blood flow to the heart. The mainly users of these products are elderly people. And because they put a lot of pressure on your leg, you cannot get them on. A daily irritation. In fact, a very costly irritation because there's tons of home care nurses going to people to help them to put the compression stocking on. Everybody is complaining about it, but nobody was doing something about it. The solution, looking at this irritation, can be very simple. And sometimes it's interesting that you should have a lack of knowledge to solve that irritation. Because if you have a lot of knowledge, you don't think open-minded anymore. The more professional you get, the more you do this. And actually, if we really want to do it good, we have to use children. So I'm the only one who's proud to say that I do child labor. Because I have young kids, and knowing that kids are more creative than adults, why should I not use them? So if we design new products or new colors or new logos, I always bring them home. They react fantastic. They're not biased. They didn't go to all the schools where we de-learn sometimes more than we learn. So having said that, I had no clue about compression stockings. Something for a granny, that was all I knew. So I asked home care nurses, can I go with you to see that problem? Because I cannot believe it. In the meantime, my friends were laughing. I was 25. And they made jokes because said, we look at the legs of young ladies, and Eric, you are looking at the legs of old ladies. But I made a business out of it. And the solution is very simple. This is not promotional, but just to show how simple it can be. A sack. A sack that reduces the friction to put on a compression stocking. Because I dived into the irritation with the end users, I asked them a lot of stupid questions, analyzed the problem, and came with the solution. And guess what? This is a patented product. Nobody ever in the world thought of a sack. How simple can it be, you should say? So then the sack was ready. I tested it, and then I thought, this will be beautiful. This is working. But then I went to consultants. There's consultants here. There's some consultants here I can hear. Not all of them are bad, but I tell you a story about consultants. You have to imagine this was the middle of the 90s. We're talking about the Dutch healthcare system, like many Western European healthcare systems. Everything was completely reimbursed. Everything that even smelled like healthcare was reimbursed. My target group, ladies, 80 plus, small pensions, never ever in their life paid 1 cent for a medical product. The product looked cheap, it was expensive, around 30 euros, And the retail channel was the medical shop, but guess what? They didn't have money. They never sold something because everything was reimbursed. So they got a prescription from the doctor and they hand over a product. So this was the only non-reimbursed product. So imagine what the consultant said. You have the wrong target group, the wrong product with the wrong image, the wrong price, and the wrong distribution channel. So forget it. Of course that didn't happen, because I did something else. I listened to a lady of 85 years old who recently became a widow. And she was completely independent. She could do everything herself, the shopping, the cleaning, the cooking, and bam, from one day to the other, she had to wear compression stockings. And that she couldn't do herself. So suddenly she was depending on home healthcare nurses. One day came Sophia, second day came Claudia, then there was somebody sick, then they were in time, and then they were too late. Summarize, in her small world, everything changed. And she was not independent anymore. So she tested the product for me, and I went back to her to get the product. She grabbed it, and she looked me into the eyes and said, "Young man, you don't get this product back. You have to go on, because guess what? I have my freedom back." Wow. So the business case was zero. I have to do it in mirror. The business case was zero, but the solution was freedom. So that drove me to go on. And that sounds easier than it is, because then you come with this innovation, and I can tell you one thing, 9 out of 10 people don't like it. So you have to prove, you have to convince people all over again. And that's why we need to change our perception and look more into irritations, because I really believe, and we drive a business with that, we help people, and that is fantastic. Something that I invented, being half a student in a consultancy company, really helps people, only by looking at irritations. So the good thing of all of this is that it's always good. The same with this talk here. Either you liked it, which would be fantastic, I will hear the applause later. If you don't like it, you're irritated, which is also good. So there's always something good in irritation, and that is also why I would like to say to you, see irritation as a positive thing, go home and get irritated. Thank you very much.